We can't imagine the value of somebody responding to a challenge with emunah. Somebody getting up and saying, you know what, Hashem, I trust you. You know what you're doing, and I will not question you. I will not complain. I once read a story about a couple. Their names were Chana and Elchanan. They were married for years without children, and after the doctors had already written off their situation as hopeless, they went to a Rabbi Shlomo Bachner from the organization Bonei Olam. Rav Shlomo, it's an organization that helps infertility. And Rav Shlomo consulted with rabbis who advised him to proceed with the case, although it seemed against all odds for success. The only doctor that he knew that could help was a Dr. Cornwallis, a highly acclaimed infertility expert whose fees were exorbitant. But Rav Shlomo didn't hesitate to call. The doctor reviewed the case and he said, there is not much that the medical world can do for this couple. The cost of treatments is high. I am not sure that it's worthwhile. Rav Shlomo responded, doesn't every couple deserve a chance? We want to proceed, doctor. The doctor was inspired by the commitment of Bonei Olam, and then he insisted on waiving his usual fee of $250,000. Rav Shlomo thanked him profusely, and they scheduled the first treatment. Weeks later, Chana was sitting in the waiting room with a Tehillim drenched with her tears. She was waiting for the results of what appeared to be her last possible chance of ever having a child. The doctor informed Rav Shlomo, who was there in the hospital. He looked at him like this, and Rav Shlomo knew he had to say nothing else. The treatment had failed. And now he had to be the one to break the news to Chana that she would never have a child. He said he stood outside that waiting room door for a long time, dreading to be the bearer of such disappointing news. He would later relate, it was the hardest moment of my life. To this day, I do not remember what I told her. Less than a year later, Rav Shlomo received a phone call from the husband Elchanan, who told him the following. He said, that night that you told us the news, I felt as if a black cloud had enveloped me. I couldn't think straight. I was driving around late at night through the quiet streets, absorbed in thought. When I arrived home, I stumbled out of the car in a fog. I opened the front door, and I was shocked by the scene that greeted me. The table in the dining room was decked with the finest tablecloth and set with our finest dinnerware. My wife stood there smiling, and she said, we now ended one chapter in our lives. We were dealt a blow today. I don't want to be angry with Hashem. I want to make a seudat hoda'ah. I want to make a meal right now to thank Hashem for giving you to me and me to you. We have each other and we're not angry. Let us enter the next chapter of our lives without bitterness. Let's celebrate what we have. He said, my wife served a magnificent meal that night. And by the time I went to sleep, my wife's serenity had affected a considerable change in me. It seemed like I had only slept a few minutes when I heard the phone ringing at 5 a.m. the next morning. It was someone from the hospital asking me to return immediately. He said they studied my chart and he claimed there was something they could still do. And now, Baruch Hashem, we just had a baby boy And the Brit Milah is next week. And he invited the rabbi. Besides for the Yeshu'ah that responding with Emunah brings, but look at how a person could be dealt such a blow and get up and move on and say, we trust Hashem. We're not going to get down. We're not going to lose ourselves. This is the awesome power of simple, pure Emunah.